So, in February of this year, I was reading this book. It's called Flowers for Algernon. It's by Daniel Keyes. And it's a really good book about a lot of things, mainly a guy who has a medical trial and goes from being not very smart to quite smart and then back. But it's also about this titular mouse, Algernon, who near the end of the book passes away. And it was as I was reading this book that I was crying a lot. I was crying a lot reading the end of this book. And I was crying here. This is my bedroom, but not my normal bedroom. This is my bedroom in Stuttgart, Germany, because for about 5 months, from October to February, and then a little extra bit of September, I was on an exchange for university. So I was there, studying in Stuttgart, and to show you how far away Stuttgart is from Australia, it's really far. Germany is really far away, even further than, Western Australia. Shout out to all the devs from Perth today. And part of the reason why I was crying reading this book in Germany, in Stuttgart, in February of this year, was that I was missing my friend's funeral. This is on Planning Virtual Flowers by me, Hugh Stormcat Craig. That's what it says online everywhere, but it's relevant, I swear. And this presentation is for Knight and for Hunter, and also for me. And that's a bunch of songs I listen to that make me kind of sad, but they're really good. And not really that sad when you listen to them out of context. That you can listen to if you want later, but not now, because I'm doing the talk. I can't compress a person into a single slide of a PowerPoint, because that's kind of impossible. But my friend Knight was a really big fan of War Thunder and Team Fortress 2 and Hearts of Iron 4, and that probably gives you a pretty good tell of his personality. He was pretty reserved, he was pretty interested in politics, and for the entire time that I knew him, he was struggling with stage 4 cancer. And I can't even say lung cancer or bowel cancer because he had cancer everywhere. I knew him for about 3.5 years, and the whole time it was all just in and out of hospital. He was on a world-first experimental treatment, but in the end, in mid-September of last year, he passed away. And I knew Knight through games, not video games of this kind, but through a big online TTRPG mega game sort of style thing run through Discord. And I actually ran a game with him and 3 of my other friends for 50 players over the course of about 5 months in the start of 2023. So 4 days a week for about 3 or 4 hours, I would get on call with my friend Knight and with 3 of our other friends, and we would try and do work for this game, but a lot of the time we kind of just chat and dawdle. And then, on the last day of December in 2024, another friend of mine passed away from cancer. My friend Hunter, who I knew all through high school, passed away from sarcoma, which is cancer in the bones. And I also can't really compress him into a single PowerPoint slide. But that's the games he played. He played a lot of Geometry Dash, and he still has a YouTube channel up with 10 views per video where he gets okay scores on a lot of the hard levels. And he played a lot of Realm of the Malgod, which I've never been into, and I don't understand at all. And he played a lot of The Binding of Isaac, and that one I do understand, and I think I know every item in the game. But it was as I was reading Flowers of Algernon in my room in Germany in Stuttgart that I was missing Hunter's funeral. And it was pretty tough. It's a real weird thing to deal with 2 friends, very young. Knight was 24 when he died, and Hunter was 21. passing away from cancer, which in my head before this was kind of the thing that my grandparents die of. You know, it's this disease that's awful and terrible, but it doesn't happen to someone who I graduated high school with like 3 years ago. But in this case, it did. And I was reading the end of Flowers for Algernon, and at the very last line, it's Charlie, our main character, who's writing, "P.P.S. If anyone is reading this, go to the backyard and lay out some flowers for Algernon." And I put the book down, and well, I didn't really know what to do. It was maybe 11 a.m. German time, which would have been, what, like late evening, late afternoon Australia time. My friends were at the funeral, so I couldn't call them. My parents were probably busy with work, and because I was in the very tail end of my exchange in February, all my international friends who were cool and awesome and in Germany with me had gone home, or they'd gone, you know, the Europeans, it's a crazy thing they can do. They can go home for the holidays to a different country and then come back. But they were all gone in France or the UK or Scotland or wherever. And what I turned to, very sad on this one day, struggling with homesickness and struggling with dealing with the grief and knowing I was missing a funeral, was I turned to playing some really small games by some people in this room. Hi, Kane. I didn't tell you I was talking about your game, but I am. Waste Eater is a really, really awesome, extremely short, like a 10, 15-minute game made by Kane Maddox, who's over there in the green. Green hair, I mean. Black clothes. You get the vibe. About this as of yet unnamed waste eater, which is a species of scientifically mutated people designed to eat nuclear waste and lithium batteries and clean up the environment. And I'd played this game before. I'd actually played it after seeing Kane's talk about Proximate, which you should also go play, it's really cool, at Freeplay Parallels 2023. I'm sure you all know what that is. And it's about this waste eater chatting to this bird who you can either call Mike or Phoenix, and I don't think I've ever played it once and called them Phoenix. I like the name Mike for a bird. Just seems right. Describing their time fixing the planet. They managed to do it. But in the process, they've lost all their friends along the way, and they're about to die. This quote on the left here is referring to a guy called Mars, who's a friend of our waste eater, who ends up passing away right underneath the same spike that the waste eater is sitting in, and then because that's kind of how waste eaters go, cannibalizes Mars. And despite the pretty, gruesome implications of that, it's a pretty sad, sweet moment because it's this guy narrating his life story that no one's really cared to hear about for a very long time to a bird that doesn't really care either, but it's more about, for the waste eater, remembering the people who went behind and hoping for the people in the future because they don't get their garden. Well, there's a bit of a twist at the end of the game, so maybe they might. But they don't find the garden yet, and they hope other people will. And then I played another game by a person sitting directly next to Kane, which is Cecile's Under a Star Called Sun, which is a really awesome bitsy game that's also like 15 minutes long. I literally replayed both of them in the lunch break in preparation of this preparation for this talk. And this one is about some Melbourneian, who's unnamed, I'm sure they're from Melbourne because they're saying to their friend, come to Melbourne, and because Melbourne's great and whatever, who's on a faraway spaceship, traveling alone, and remembering this person that they left behind, who I'm pretty sure is dead. I don't think they ever explicitly say it, but it's pretty clear that the friend's passed away. And I remember seeing this line, when I first heard the news, and the next line after this, which is that my friend sent me a message, and then I sort of looked at the phone in shock, and it malfunctioned, and that's kind of how I felt when Knight died. This friend of mine, who I've never seen the face of, who I can't remember the voice of anymore, who passed away, but I was an online stranger, and this is where Stormcat comes relevant. That's all they ever knew me as. I wasn't Hugh. They didn't really see me ever. I think I sent one photo at one point. And they called me Storm. And then 3 days after they passed away, we got a message from a friend of theirs who sent to a friend, who sent to a friend, who sent to the administrator of this server that I met them in, that he was gone. And in this game as well, you go and you check the plants in the greenhouse, and you check that there's no bugs on them, which you're in space. I don't think that's really a problem. And then come to the plants. And that's kind of what I was doing, sitting alone playing these games and listening to the sad music, which I had the link to earlier. But I finished these games, and instead of crying more, I mean, I was still crying. I definitely didn't stop doing that. But what I went and did was I went, fuck, those are really good. And I feel like I need to make something to express my loss at these people. Because I'm actually a writer. Not really. Not like a writer like the cool people there who write and make games and actually do interesting things with it. But I have written a lot. I spent a year writing a short story or a poem a day, and that's the end of that. I wasn't going to make a GIF just to scroll through Word docs, but you get the idea. And I wrote this the night that I found out that Knight had died. As I searched up his name on Google, because in my head it was like, he's this important online person. Surely someone remembers him. Surely I can look it up and there'll be a Wikipedia article or a news flash or something, but there's not. There's a cybersecurity company and a Reddit account that definitely wasn't him. But he made a flag because he was a politics, history, Hearts of Iron 4 nerd. And he made a flag to represent himself, and his Discord icon was always this little blue circle with a red cross in front. And you could buy the flag. He had a physical copy about 2 months before he died. He bought a copy of this flag, and for some reason, the store kept it up, and you could find it. And I don't... It's not like the flag means much. It was just a piece left that I could find. So I wrote that, and I felt a bit better. And then I thought about it some more, and I've been thinking about it since early September, that I should do something. I should write a game, I should do a talk, I should plant some virtual flowers to remember these people. And I've written here what comes after the perenation, and probably no one knows what perenation means. But if there's any specific plant nerds, maybe you do. Perenation is the struggle of the plants through the winter, when they start to freeze and go bad, and they're not really sure they'll survive, and the perenation is the renewal and the rebirth and the continuation on throughout. And so the perenation for me was realizing that I was going to try and do this as a talk at Freeplay Angles. And here I am, blooming on the other side. So make games and write poems and create things that matter to you and try to remember people, because it's really hard. But when you're leaving virtual flowers and making a garden, and maybe someday someone will see it. Kane and Cecile, they didn't make these games for me. I don't even know if it's about a real person that they made those for, but I played those games, and it meant a lot. And you don't know Knight, and you don't know Hunter. And maybe this talk's reminded you of someone that you're hoping to remember. And I wrote another poem, and I'll read this one out. This one's a real poem. It's in iambic pentameter. It's been a long, cold night to stay online, to write the words I don't know how to say. It's not the same without you being here, but I am glad you were, sad as I am. We've made you a garden of virtual flowers, of memories and buds and seeds new bloomed. I've never been good at saying goodbye, but I guess the plants here will have to do. And that was his final message, with everyone sending flowers. And that's my talk. Thank you. If you're completely unrelated to any of this, I'm making a silly party game that you can get on Steam, and check out Savvy Outside. They're really cool. Am I good on time? Oh my goodness. Does anyone want a single question? Thank you.